When solving equations, the main goal is to isolate the variable, usually denoted as x, so that you end up with an expression where x equals a specific number. This process involves a series of logical steps that help rearrange the equation in a clear and organized way. The first principle is to ensure that whatever operation you perform on one side of the equation, you must also do to the other. This keeps the equation balanced and ensures the solution remains accurate. The process often begins by dealing with any brackets that might be present in the equation. If the equation has brackets, you should multiply them out first. This step simplifies the equation and eliminates the brackets so that you are left with an equation without groupings, allowing you to focus on the individual terms. If there are fractions in the equation, it's best to remove them early on by multiplying through by the denominator. This step will leave you with whole numbers or terms that are easier to work with. Solving equations can be broken down into a methodical 6-step process. First, as mentioned, you should get rid of any fractions by multiplying through by the appropriate denominator. Next, multiply out any brackets in the equation to simplify it further. After this, the aim is to collect all the x terms on one side of the equation and the number terms on the other side. This step helps to separate the variable from the constants, making it easier to isolate the x term. Once you have the x terms on one side and the number terms on the other, you can combine any like terms to simplify the expression. At this stage, the equation will typically take the form ax, b equals c. The next step is to divide both sides of the equation by a, which simplifies the equation to x equals. If, instead of x, the equation has x squared, then to solve for x, you take the square root of both sides. It's important to remember that when you take the square root, you are left with two possible solutions, one positive and one negative, meaning x will equal plus or minus a number. When dealing with squares, it's crucial to remember that squaring a number means multiplying it by itself. If x squared appears in your equation, solving it involves undoing this operation by applying the square root to both sides. However, taking the square root introduces two possible answers, one positive and one negative, since both positive and negative numbers can square to give the same result. Throughout this process, the key is to keep rearranging the equation logically until you reach a form where x is isolated and equal to a number. The structure and clarity of each step are essential to avoiding mistakes, and by following these steps, solving equations becomes a straightforward process of manipulation and simplification.